Hey everyone, so today we're going to learn about another data structure in Python called dictionaries. So the dictionary is a very powerful and important data structure in Python. We can think of a dictionary as being a set with a mapping of keys to values, such that any key in a dictionary is associated with or mapped to a specific value. So in a lot of other programming languages, this structure is known simply as something like a hash map or a hash table. But in Python, it has its own term called the dictionary. So dictionaries provide us with quite a bit of freedom. Values in dictionaries can take the form of any data type in Python, but keys will conform to the same rules as elements in sets, which means that keys must be immutable data types such as integers, floats, strings, and tuples. Also, keys in a dictionary must all be unique. In other words, you cannot have the same key appear twice in a single dictionary, but different keys can map to the same value. So that means, like, if I had the key 1, I could not have 1 be a key twice in the dictionary, but I could have, the keys 1 or the key 2 both map to the value A, and that would be okay. So let's take a look at all this in action. You can define an empty dictionary like this. So I can say a dict, this is just the variable name I'm going to give it, and set it equal to empty brackets. And so these empty brackets creates an empty dictionary. I can also do it more literally, and I can say, other dict, which again just another variable name that I'm creating, and set it equal to dict. So here, this is just a constructor, kind of how we've seen, we've seen the same thing with list and with tuple and set, and it just creates declaratively the data structure we want. So in this case, it's a dict. So remember, dictionaries are composed of a set of key value pairs. So to add to a dictionary, we need some sort of key value pair. So like, for example, I could put in this dictionary, like I could have like A be a key, and then I'll map it, and mapping is just demonstrated with a colon, and I'll have it mapped to 1, and 1 is the value in this case, and A is the key, and then I'll have like another key value pair. Let's have the key be B, and the value will be 2, and now this dictionary has 2 key value pairs, and if I print a dict, I will see that we have those pairs, and this is unordered. So when I run this each time, like the order doesn't really matter. It just prints in some way. Just to reiterate, so here A is a key, and and 1, I'm sorry, is a value, and then B is another key, and 2 is the value for B. So A maps to 1, and B maps to 2. We can access the values of a dictionary by their key, like so. So if I print a dict of A, where A is a key, we're going to get 1, hopefully, and we do. And if I say of B, we'll get 2. But if I say something like C, which is not a key in this dictionary, as we can see, and I print that, the compiler is going to flip out to me. The program will get angry and say there's an error, and the error is called a key error, and it tells me what the key I tried to use is. We can sidestep this by, instead of accessing it with this bracket notation, we can use the .get method. And now if I give it a key that's not there, it will just return none instead of throwing an error. So it won't break the program, which can be useful. So oftentimes get is preferred when you're not confident that something will be in the dictionary. So we can set a new key value pair in a dictionary like the following. So let's say I want to add C as a key to the dictionary. I can say a dict of C, and I can set it equal to, let's just for the sake of consistency, say 3. And now if I print a dict, I'm going to comment this out, then it will be updated, and we see that C is now mapped to 3. And so there's this new key value pair in the dictionary. And we can update current keys that are already in it. So like, let's say I want to change A to, instead of being mapped to 1, I want it to be mapped to like 10. So I could say a dict of A and set it equal to 10. And now when I print a dict, here it's mapped to 10, because this is before I've updated it, and now I've updated it, and it is behaved accordingly. So we can do a lot of other things. We can check. Sometimes we want to just know if a dictionary has some sort of key. So like let's say we can do that using the has key method. So I can print a dict.has key, and if I ask about A, it will tell me that's true. It is true that this dictionary has the key or has key A. But if I give it, another, I know that it does not have the key D, so I want to get false, and that's exactly what we're going to get. We can remove pairs from a dictionary. So remember, in order to remove something from a dictionary, we have to remove the whole pair. I mean, I can change the value for a given key, but if I want to remove all of it, we have to remove the key value pair. And we can do that by using something called pop. And so if I pop, let's say, B, what this is going to do is it's going to get rid of the key B and just give me the value. And that's why if I print it, I'm going to get 2. But now, if I print the dictionary, it's not going to have B in it. So you see B is gone. B mapped to 2. That key value pair is just no longer in the dictionary because I popped it. I popped it out by the key. So oftentimes there are a lot. Oh, and really quickly, if you give it a key that's not in there and you try and get rid of it, so like if I try and get rid of the key E, which I know is not in there, it's gonna, again, the program's gonna flip out at me. It's gonna say key error E. So don't do that. Let's just get rid of this. There are a lot of times where we want to immediately get just like, all the values or all the keys in the dictionary. So there are 2 methods for that, respectively. So for the first, for getting the keys, I can use this .keys method. And now when I print that, I've got all the keys in this dictionary. Remember, we already added C here, so that's why we see C. And if I want the values, I can very easily just say a dict.values. And now I get all the values, which is, again, this is after it's been updated with all this mutation. Another important one is, let's say I want all the pairs. So I want some list of all the pairs in the dictionary. We can very easily do that by saying print a dict.items. Remember, I'm just printing so that we can see it output here. You don't always need to print in order to make it happen. It's just to see the output. So if I print that, I have a list of all the pairs. So, we have A mapped to 10, C mapped to 3, B mapped to 2. And so this can just be useful because it's very often the case that you'll want to iterate through the entries in the dictionary. And so you can use these 3 different methods in different cases in order to get all the entries. So let's actually just take an example of iterating through a dictionary. So let's say we have a dictionary that maps student names to their grades. And I'm just going to get that from over here. So I'm going to take this dictionary and put that down here. I'll comment these out so they're not in the way. And then we'll just move down here so we can have more space to work with. So this is what the dictionary I have. I have, a bunch of names, the students in a class, and this is the grades for those students. Their final grades, let's say. This is what they're going to get at the end of the term. So if I want to print out each grade for a given student, I can do it like this. I can say, for students, and remember, this is just what I'm calling the variable, in student grades, which, is the name of the dictionary, the name of the variable, dot keys. So remember, this gives us a list of all the keys, which we saw over here. I'm going to just print student grades of that student. And that gives me all the grades. I mean, there's another way to do this. I also could just have looped over the values, and I wouldn't need to print it like this. I could say something like, for grade in student grades dot values, print grade, and it will give me the same thing again. It's just it's all there. Or with this one, what if I want the name of the student and their grade? So I could say for students, comma grade, and remember, these are just what I'm deciding to call it. You can call whatever you want. In student grades dot items. So remember, items gives us the key value pairs. I'll print student comma grade. So now when I run this, I get all the pairs. So I get Alex has 94, which we see in here. Mike has 79. I guess he's not a very good student, and that's what we see here. I guess Julia is kind of slaying it, so she has 95. And yeah, so it's just really easy to iterate through and see everything we have in a given dictionary by using these methods: keys, values, items. Or what if I wanted to find the maximum and minimum grades in a class? I could really easily do that by just saying, print the max of student grades dot values, and I'll also print the min to get the minimum one, student grades dot values, and I'm just going to get rid of these just so we don't have all this nonsense being printed out and we can focus on what we're doing. So we see that the maximum student grade is 95, which is correct. We can just validate that by looking at the dictionary, it's pretty small. And then the minimum one is 71, which is also true. Nick just really did not do well. And so the lowest grade is a 71. But what if I want to do something a little more complicated? What if I want to find the top student in the dictionary with a function? So let's say this dictionary is huge. Right here we can just look at it and I know the top student is Julia. What if it was gigantic with hundreds of students in it and I couldn't just read through each one and find it? What I can do is I can create some function and we'll call it find top students. And we'll just give it some dictionary. And so let's just call the input grades dict, just for clarity's sake. And then, first thing I'm going to do is, I want a list. I'm just going to give space down here. So I want a list of all the grades. So I'm going to say grades equals grades dict, because remember, that's the input variable name. That's going to be the dictionary. And I can say values. So now I know grades is going to be a list of all the values in the dictionary. And then I'll say the top grade is equal to the max of this list grades. Right here. So this now I have some integer that represents the top grade. And now let's say I want to get just I want to get the pairs. So I'll say grades dict dot items. And so this is going to be for iterating through. And then I also want to ultimately, I want to take note of the fact that, what if in this class there are multiple students all at the top grades? What if, 95 is the top grade, but instead of just Julia, there were 3 or 4 students in total that had this. So I want to find all the students. I don't want to just find the single one. I want to find all 4 students who got the top grade. So I'm going to define this empty list, and we'll call it top students. And this is ultimately what we're going to return from this function. Because remember, this finds the top student, or finds the students with top grades and returns a list of them, of their names. So just to remember what we're doing here. So this is going to be the list that I add all the student names to when I find them. So now I have to iterate through the dictionary. And so remember, we have this thing pairs, which is all the key value pairs. And so I can say something like, for student comma grade, again, because that's just very clear, in pairs. So I'm looping over this list. And I'm saying for each student and for each grade, this is just a condensed way of saying that, I'm going to do something. So I want to check if the grade for this student is the top grade, if it's equal. So I'm going to say if grade for this student is equal to top grade, which I've already found, remember, using this max method, then what do I want to do? Well, in this case, I want to add to the student, the list of top students. So I'm going to say dot append, because remember, that's how you add to a list. Add students, because that's going to be the name of the student in this case. So that's really all I want to do, because if the grade is not equal to the top grade, then I don't want to do anything. I don't care about that student. They're bad, so we don't care. So what we want to do at the end is we want to just return top students, and that's it. So this is the function. So remember, what we're doing here is we want to find the students with top grades and return a list of their names. So I created this function, find top students. I'm giving it, I know it's going to take some sort of dictionary, so I'm just calling the input variable name gradesdict for clarity's sake. I'm getting all the grades by using this values method that we've seen multiple times now. I'm going to get the top grade by setting equal to the max of this list of grades. Remember, max is just a built-in method that takes a list and gets the max value in it. I'm going to set another variable called pairs, and I'm going to set that equal to the items in this dictionary. So remember, this is going to give me a list of tuples where each tuple is a key value pair in the dictionary. And now I'm just defining my return value. And so it's just an empty list for now, but I'm going to add the top students to it. And so I need to find those students. So now I'm going to loop. I'm going to say for each student and grade. Remember, because this is a key value pair. This is like, one student and their grade in the pairs. I'm going to say if grade equals top grade. Remember, we're going to use this is equal to method. I'm going to add each student to the list of top students. So, and then I'm going to return it. And now, if I want to run this, I can do it like this. So I can say, I can print top students. I'm going to call it. And, so now we have to give it an actual dictionary. And so luckily we have this dictionary up here. So I'm going to say prints top students of student grades. That's the name of the dictionary. I'm going to run that, and we get a list of Julia. Because remember, in this dictionary, we only have one top student. But what if there were like several? And let's say, that Tim has a 95, and like Connor also has a 95. And now when I run this again, I'm going to find that Connor, Julia, and Tim are the top students in the class because they are all the ones with a 95. But like, let's say, actually Julia ended up getting a 97 and Connor also got a 97. Then now this is only going to be Julia and Connor, and it's because they got a 97. And also now this max grade has changed to 97. So that's just some ways that we can iterate through dictionaries. So we're going to go over one last function that will do something a little more fancy. So I'm going to get this other dictionary that I have over here, and I'm going to put it down here. And so now this is a little different. So here we have each student mapped to a list of their exam grades. So let's imagine that for this class, whatever it was, there were 3 exams during the semester. And so now we have, for this whole class, we have each student mapped to a list of the grades they got on each exam. So now what I want to do is I want to make a function that gets the exam averages for each student. And so I'm going to say, we'll call it get exam averages, literally. And then I'm going to, again, I know it's going to take a dictionary of grades, so I'm going to say grades dict just because it's easy and clear. And now I want to do a few things. So what do we want here? We have this dictionary. And so what we effectively want is to, for each student, find the average of this list, which is the value for that student. Student name is a key. The value in this case is a list of their grades, where here the value was just an integer, their grade. So I'm going to ultimately want to return another dictionary, right? So in this case, we just returned a list because that's all we wanted. We wanted the names. But here, now I'm really going to want another dictionary because I want to return a dictionary that has the student name and their average grade on their exams. So I'm going to now create that return value, and it's going to be empty. And so I'm just going to say averages is equal to this empty dictionary. And this is what I'm going to return, and now we're going to modify it. So again, I'm just going to get the pairs of the grades dict. And now I'm going to say, again, kind of repetitive, for students, and then also, but this next variable I'm going to call something else, because now I know this is a list of the grades. And so I don't want to just say grade, because I could call it the same thing, but it's not clear. So it's always good to be clear with your variable names. So I'm going to say for students and then their exam grades, which will be these lists, in the pairs, because remember we got all these value pairs with this items. And then what do I want to do? So I have to do a few things. So I need to update averages to have each key be the students, and then I need to get this average of exam grades. I need to get the average of the list. So what I'm actually going to do is first, just make it a little clearer, I'm going to create a function called compute average. And this is going to take some list, and we'll call it numbers. And it's going to take, let's just make it easy on ourselves, and we'll pass this the size of the list, because we'll already have that. So then what we're going to do is we're going to just compute the average. So remember, the average value is just all this is sum of all the values divided by the number of them, which in this case is size. So what I'm just going to return here is very simple. It's just I'm going to get a float of the sum of the numbers, and I'm going to divide by the size. So the first thing that happens in here is it sums all the values in the list. I turn that sum, which would be an integer, I turn it into a float, because remember, for division, you want to use floats, 95% of the time. And then I'm going to divide by the number of elements, which I just called size. So this really just computes the mean. whatever, called it average. Either they're synonymous. So then now all I want to do is, again, I want to update averages because that's what we're going to return. So I'm going to say averages of the students, which in each iteration of this loop, it will be some name. It could be Alex, Mike, Jamie, Emily, whatever. And then I want to set it equal to something. What do I want this to equal? Well, I want it to equal the average of their exam grades. And remember, I gave it the size just to make it a little cleaner. And so I'm going to pass it the length of this list, right? So exam grades is once again a list of all these values. I'm getting the length of it to give the size, which is what I wanted to call it. And then I'm passing the list itself, and here, because this is generic, I'm calling it numbers. And now this updates that. It computes the average and sets it the students in this dictionary equal to that average. The student will be the key, which will be one of these names. The value will be the average. And now that's all I need to do. And so at the very end, I can get out of this for loop, and I'm going to return the averages. All right, because we've already computed it. Computing this for loop, I get out of the for loop by just getting back in line with the start of the for loop. Then I return it. And now let's actually run it. So I'm going to get exam averages of, what was this called? So student exam grades. That's the name of the dictionary that we're using. And what's this going to give me? Well, it's going to give me this new dictionary. And so when I print this out, let's just cover this for now. I'm just going to rerun that so we get rid of this nonsense. So now I have the dictionary. And so now it gives me these average values. So it tells me that Jimmy's average exam grade was 82.3 whatever. I could, we could actually print it so that it doesn't have all this nonsense, but we're not going to bother with that. Alex had an average exam grade 91.33. Max had an average one of 83.66. Julia 95.33. I guess she's a really good student, and so on. So that's all that we got, and that's about does it. So I'm just going to go really quickly back over everything we've done. So this is how you define dictionaries. We use this bracket notation. Curly braces is, I guess, what it actually is. And we have, key value pairs. A is the key, 1 is the value, B is a key, 2 is a value. We can use the constructor like this. We can set new key values because C isn't in here, so it's going to add it. When I print that, it'll have C. We can update keys that are already in there, so this will change A to equal 10. We can tell, like a Boolean expression of whether it has the key. This will return false because D is not in here. These are just the methods we use for iterative purposes and among other things. This is just some data. I was showing here how you can loop through everything. I can loop through the keys. I can loop through the values. I can loop through the items. And this is often what you're going to end up using. We can just get, easily get the max and min grade for this dictionary. And now we have this function here that finds the students with the top grades and returns a list of their names. And so that's all this logic. We get the values, which we call grades. We get the top grade by taking the max of the values or grades. We get the pairs, which is just the items of the dictionary. We set an empty return value. We loop over the items or pairs. And we, if the grade for this student is equal to the top grade, which we already have, then we add that student name to the list, and then we return it. And that will give us, in this case, Julie and Connor, because I guess they're just the best in the class. And then we have this other dictionary that maps students to their 3 exam grades for the semester in that class. I made this helper function to get the average of a list of numbers. And then I have this other function, the real function, that does what I want, and it gets the exam averages for each student. Set an empty dictionary, get the pairs as usual, loop over the pairs. In this case, the value is the list, so I'm calling it exam grades. I'm updating the return dictionary to be for each student. I'm going to get the average exam. And then I return it. And then I print that, and that's what we get. So that about does it for today. That's all I'm going to go over. Hopefully that all made sense. In the next video, we're going to learn about some other interesting sequence methods in Python. Some things you can use on lists and tuples and a variety of other things. And these methods will be like map and filter and sort and reduce, and they're really helpful. And it will require us to learn about something interesting called lambda functions in Python as well. And so anyways, thanks for watching. Please feel free to add any comments or questions in the comments section below, and I'll see you next time.